to our office. This is Roberta's office at Clark Street. And also, there are people doing something new this time. There are people tuning in online. So, hi, the camera there. It's great to have you all guys with us. So, my name is Kathleen from the marketing team at Vertis. I'll be your host tonight. And so, for those of you who are first time over here, we run these monthly events called Tech Talks. It's a community driven sort of tech mixer where everyone comes to our office. We share about our latest insights, talk about collaborations and new projects. Okay? Latest innovations happening across the sector. So today is a bit special because we are doing a Sitecore User Group. So we've done different topics in the past, and it's our first hybrid session. So so there are people joining in from different parts of the world. And so some people are joining us remotely, some of them outside Singapore. Yeah, okay, that's really exciting. So a couple of things, housekeeping items. So the session will run around 1 hour plus. So there are drinks behind, please help yourself. Toilet is through there, the annex. So for those who are online, if you have any questions, we're going to do a Q&A after Tom's session. So please drop your questions inside the chat. And also, if you're not signed in with me yet, you've not checked in downstairs as well, please come find me later. I do need your details. So we're also recording a session. I'm going to do a webinar sort of thing, so it'll be available afterwards. So today our theme is so building scalable marketplaces is Sitecore OrderCloud. So we'll start off with Tom. He's going to take us through how OrderCloud works and why it's becoming such a core part of modern commerce architecture. And after Tom, Akash from Giphy, he's going to talk about how composability is shaping the future of event management. So afterwards, Akash and Gerlin, our CTO, is going to have a sharing session to talk about how Giphy and Vertis partner together to work on a tender, a ticketing tender to design like a composable solution for public sector. So it's gonna be a great conversation. So next, who are we? I don't know if I'm blocking the screen.
Usually not.
Okay, so Vertis is a digital agency founded right here in Singapore. We help organizations, design and build and deliver innovative digital experiences. So from everything from government platforms to e-commerce solutions. So think of us as Accenture, but like smaller, faster, cooler. But please don't tell them I said that. But it's true. You know that. So our mission is to innovate, elevate, create. So today we really want to share about how Sitecore OrderCloud is really like something, a really fantastic foundation for us to build on, because we are constantly creating more and more innovative solutions and composability is really the future. So so a little bit of history. So we have a very special relationship with Sitecore. So actually our co-founders met in Sitecore before they started this company. Quite a few of our people in the team, they are from Sitecore as well. Got lots of Sitecore experts. We are experts in that. So very proud to say that we're the only platinum level Sitecore partner in APAC. And deliver some complex solutions for enterprises and governments in the region. So so beyond project work, we've always been very passionate about community and the Sitecore community. Like you can see us in all sorts of like Sitecore things and being in touch with them. In fact, Tom used to run Sitecore User Group Singapore 7 years ago. So now I'm just helping him, taking over a little bit. Very exciting. It's the first time doing this as Vertis, but there'll be more to come. So stay tuned for us on LinkedIn and there'll be more. And let me know if you have other topics or suggestions. Okay. So I'm just gonna get things started. So please welcome Tom. He's gonna kick off the session by breaking down what makes Sitecore OrderCloud such a powerful engine for scalable marketplaces.
Yeah. thank you. So I'm gonna talk about building scalable marketplaces with Sitecore OrderCloud. So personally, I'm excited about OrderCloud. I think it delivers great value to businesses that are using it. I personally see the value over other commerce solutions. So hopefully at the end I can get you just as excited as I am. So yeah, I'll take you through a brief introduction about myself, why OrderCloud, how you get started, right? And then I will do a technical deep dive and why it will be technical. Because hopefully that gets you most interested in OrderCloud, because to me, understanding all of the technical concepts of OrderCloud, really makes you see the value of the platform. And then I will also take you through a case study of an actual project implementation that we did, and that has been live for over 3 years already. So at the end I'll also do a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. So myself, my name is Tom Puijman. I'm the Director, Technology, AI, and Architecture at Vertis, right? So I am supporting with the projects that we run here, including the architecture and all of the innovation initiatives that we are doing. I'm from the Netherlands, and I've been in Singapore now for what is it, 7 years, since 7 years. I've been involved in large-scale platforms on AWS, Azure, using Sitecore technology. I've been working with Sitecore technology for 13 years, and previously also worked at Sitecore for 5 years as well. So that's how I met Darren and Colin. All right, so let's dive right into it. So why OrderCloud, right? So I'm going to answer that question. So first I'm going to explain what is a marketplace, because marketplace it is a type of commerce that we can do. So you can first do B2C, right? B2C commerce, right? So if you look at it, for example, like a Shopify, a customer can buy a product from a seller, and they have a transaction over that e-commerce platform, right? So that is B2C commerce, right? It is generally a bit more simpler, I would say, but it is something that you can scale to a lot of consumers. B2B comes with a lot more complexity, right? Where you can have, for example, quotes, you can have particular pricing that is specific to an organization. You can have an organization that can have multiple users that can buy products for that same company. They can have, for example, different, for example, a retail organization that is ordering for multiple stores, right? So there's a lot of complexity that comes with B2B, right? So generally, if you look at an e-commerce platform, right? The majority of e-commerce platforms, they will either fall in the B2B sector or the B2C sector, and it is very rarely that the e-commerce platform is able to tailor to both, right? But what I'm going to talk about is marketplaces, right? So with OrderCloud, you can do all of these types of commerce, right? So you can use it for B2C, you can use it for B2B, but you can also use it for marketplaces. And personally, I think the marketplace is where the real value of OrderCloud is, right? Where the seller is considered the platform that runs OrderCloud, that is facilitating a transaction, right? And they can have suppliers that carry the products, right? The product that they are selling on your platform to your consumers or companies or your customers on your platform, right? So all of this you can do with OrderCloud, right? So the philosophy that OrderCloud uses is flexibility over features, right? So it's I've heard it before that companies that are looking for an e-commerce platform, and they are looking at the drag and drop interface for widgets, right? You will not get that with OrderCloud. So OrderCloud will not give you a drag and drop widget, right? They will give you a solid platform that forms the foundation of your commerce solution, right? And on top of that, you build whatever you need for your business, right? Whether all of your business logic, all of your complexity that comes with it, right? So OrderCloud is a SaaS platform, right? So it gives you a solid foundation that it continues to add features and new functionality on top of, and it is scalable. Right, so it is scalable hey, you can start small on OrderCloud, right? So if you start with B2C and later you want to branch out into marketplaces, want to add other brands on top of your commerce platform, you can also do so. In OrderCloud is part of the MAC Alliance, right? So MAC stands for Microservices, API First, Cloud Native, and Headless. So it being a headless platform means that you can tailor your entire commerce experience as you want, right? So you own the entire buyer app, you own the entire supplier admin panel, you own the entire experience to all of your suppliers or customers, right? So Sitecore OrderCloud is a commerce engine where you integrate through APIs. Everything is done through APIs and webhooks, right? So it means that you are in control of the entire experience, how it will appear to your users, right? So I think that makes it a lot more flexible than other platforms where, hey, if you have a commerce platform where you are customizing an existing storefront and make it into something that fits within your business. OrderCloud is something that gives you a starting point and the APIs that you need to get commerce functionality. And then on top of that, you build your own experience. Essentially, right, like I said, right, I would say traditional commerce platforms, they will give you a storefront and then you start customizing that, and then they have some API layer that they build on top of that. But that's really a monolith traditional commerce platform, whereas OrderCloud gives you the APIs that you need for your commerce functionality when you are in full control of your head, meaning your app that you are working with. So a typical OrderCloud system usually has a buyer app, right? So that's something that I just referred to now. A buyer app that is essentially your customer-facing portal, right? So your buyers, right? People that will purchase products, right, on your platform, they are using the buyer app, right? We have commerce admin, right? So the admin portal is generally for the owner of the marketplace, right? So that's something that we call the seller in OrderCloud context. And then we also have a supplier portal. So at least in our implementations, we share this portal in one app, but then based on the user login, we show different data or functionality within that. So suppliers, they will be able to entirely self-service their shop within your marketplace, right? So they will be able to manage their own products, manage their own pricing, inventory, fulfill orders, and so forth. So this is so OrderCloud is the API engine, right? So everything is done through APIs, right? So our storefront or our admin portal, they are all integrating through APIs. And then generally, we also have an integration middleware where we have our own business logic, we have our own calculations, our own logic that we do build on top of OrderCloud. And then we integrate with OrderCloud using webhooks, right? So if we need to, for example, customize the order process, right? We can use webhooks into our integration middleware and do the necessary calculations or integrations that we need to do. Right, and subsequently, right, our middleware can then integrate with tax calculations, shipping carriers, NinjaFan. We integrate with SyncPass, for example, right, and then so forth, right. That's all. That's what we handle within the middleware. We also use a Jamstack approach as well. So Jamstack is where we can essentially pre-render the majority of our content, right? So we have thousands of product detail pages, for example, right? Rather than every request, we go back to OrderCloud, give me the product, and then update the product detail page and build that dynamically every time, right? We can pre-render this product detail page and serve it in a static manner. Right, so that helps us to optimize the performance and optimize the experience for the end user. All right, so how do we get started? So there are a few tools that OrderCloud provides. Right, so first of all, it provides a SDK. So the SDK is a library that we can include in our project, right? So that can be either a JavaScript SDK that we can use as an NPM package in our app, or we can use the .NET SDK, which is a NuGet package that we can include in our solution. And that way we can get all of the API type mapping, the schema of our API into our app. And we can also use that to initialize, for example, the API access, the tokens, and so forth. We can also use the OrderCloud Accelerator. It's an opinionated admin panel and a buyer app that is available on GitHub. So it is something they provide. It is not something that you need to use in order to get started. We also have done the implementations where we started from scratch, also can. But it does give you a basis where you can build upon and customize that to your needs. And they have an API portal as well. So this is actually the older interface. They have even newer interface here. But the API portal provides you with all the different API resources that OrderCloud has. It shows you all of the different actions that you can do against those API resources, and it allows you to test those API calls, right? So let me actually switch over. Right. So this is actually my marketplace here, right? So this is actually you can get started for free, right? So you can actually go to ordercloud.io, create a free account, and open a new sandbox, right? So that is available to anyone. So that's what I did, right? So I have here a sandbox, right? This is a full-featured sandbox that anyone can play around with and start playing around. So, so this one is in the Australia East region, right? So they have multiple regions available. And so these are the API resources that are available, right? So as I'm implementing, right, I use, for example, I use users, right, to create users within my marketplace. Here I have credit cards, right, so I can create a reference to a credit card that I store in my payment gateway, for example. I have my suppliers here. I also have my product catalogs, right, and that I will go through in a short while. Right, and I can test my API call. I can also create, over here, I can create new products as well. Right, and so this is essentially how you can work with the API console to quickly get started and understand how the APIs are working. Right. So for every OrderCloud. So if I talk about a licensed OrderCloud environment, right, you usually have three environments, right? So you have a sandbox that I just showed, staging environment and a production environment, right? So your production is really the ones that you use for your production environments, and then you also have a staging endpoint where they will do a backsync of the data on a weekly basis. So in order to get started, you can also use, for example, a Postman, right? You can use the OAuth authentication to get a token, and using that token, you can access all of the APIs based on your role-based access control. In order to create a token, you need an API client. So the API client is essentially a configuration of the access level that particular endpoint is allowed to use. It also allows you can also, for example, set the access to a particular supplier. So if I, for example, want to give an API to my supplier for them to integrate their BIM systems, for example, right? I can give them an API client that will give them access to our OrderCloud API, and they can only access their particular data. They can only access their catalog, for example. And this way, we can provide that particular supplier access to create products in their own catalog, and without us needing some kind of middleware to because the access is already controlled using this API client, right? So this will gatekeep the access for that particular supplier, right? So that way we can we create different API clients for different purposes and different systems that we are using. All right, so now I'm going deep into the actual concepts within OrderCloud. Right, I'm going even deeper. All right, so within OrderCloud is designed as a B2B first solution, right? So it is designed with B2B in mind, but it also supports marketplaces and B2C. So it's really built upon the complexity of B2B, right? So it allows us to have different organizations, right? So we can have, for example, an admin user group, right? So we can have multiple admin users that are in the different users groups. But then also within a buyer, we can have multiple buyers, right? That can be different organizations within our marketplace. They can have different use groups, and they can have users within those user groups, right? Similar for suppliers, right? So this allows us to set up large-scale user directories for different organizations with internal complexity, right? So if I would make this a little bit more relatable, right? We can, for example, have a chain of coffee shops, right? And a chain of coffee shops, they can have, for example, multiple locations, right? So multiple outlets where they are selling coffee, right? So in this case, coffee shop chain is an actual, like,
Hold on.
Yes.
Just checking.
Oh.
Technical check. I think, well, it's going.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. All right. Okay. So, as for example, that coffee shop chain, right? They can have multiple outlets, right? So multiple locations, right? So there can be individual use groups, right? And within those outlets, you can have users that need to purchase items for that coffee shop, right? So in that case, we can build up complex user directories for multiple locations, multiple groups, and business units, right? And we can then assign those users or those user groups to particular catalogs or categories, right? So that way we can give them access to certain products, right, or certain functionality within our marketplace based on the assignments, right? So in OrderCloud, we create products as a standalone entity. So rather than creating a product within a catalog, right, where that product is created within a catalog, you cannot reuse it in other catalogs, for example, right? OrderCloud is creating a product standalone, and then you assign it to a catalog, right? So this way you can have one product that can be assigned to multiple catalogs, right? So that way we can reuse that same product, right? We can manage all of our information about the product on the product itself, and then assign it to the appropriate catalogs or categories, right? So this way we can have a catalog, for example, for employees, right? So for example, again, coffee shop as an example, right? We can have items that we are selling to consumers, right? So that can be product A, that is assigned to the consumer catalog, right? But we can also have an internal employee catalog where we are selling the same product internally, but for a different price, for example. Right. We can also assign specs to a product or variants. So a spec is essentially so let's say we sell a t-shirt, right? The t-shirt can have a size, right? So it can be small, medium, large, right? That can be a spec, right? So the spec in this case is the size. We also have options, so those are that's the different sizes, for example. We can also, for example, if we have the color, right? So we have red, pink, black, those can be options. And in that case, we can also set a markup on a specific option, right? So if we want to charge more for pink, right, instead of black, then we can add a markup of, let's say, $2, right? So we will charge $2 more for that particular spec option. We can also manage inventory. So we can either manage inventory on the product itself. So on the product, we can say we have 20 units in stock, right? As that product is being ordered, we will drill down from that amount automatically, right? Or we can also manage inventory records, right? So we can, we can also have variant level tracking. So if you have multiple variants for each individual variant, you can manage tracking. I didn't have that example, but we can also use inventory records, right? So let's say we have multiple locations, right? So we have multiple warehouses or multiple stores, right? So let's say I have a laptop, right? I have 3 stores, right, within Singapore. Then I can, for those stores, I can track how many laptops, how many units of the laptop I have in stock on each store. And then based on that, we can also manage inventory, right? So you can also have inventory for multiple locations as well. So then the checkout within OrderCloud. So the checkout, we can, if we have a cart, we create it as a unsubmitted order, right? That's a difference from other commerce platforms, right? So in other commerce platforms, you will have a cart, and then you add line items to that, and then at some point that will be converted into an order, right? Whereas in OrderCloud, we start with an unsubmitted order, right, which is our cart, right? So we are building up that data, building up our cart, right? We are adding line items. We are populating that with extra information as we go through that checkout process. So we can also have multiple carts as well, right? So one user can have multiple carts, and we can add multiple carts, right? So for example, if I go back to a coffee shop ordering products for the different locations, right? We can have, for each location, we can have an individual cart and add items to line items to each of those carts. Then as we move through the checkout, we can then estimate the shipping costs, right? So we can, based on the line items, the location where it needs to be shipped to, my billing address, I can estimate the shipping cost, right? So for that, I can use a webhook which we call an integration event from OrderCloud to our integration middleware. And in our middleware, we can then return how much is this shipment going to cost, right? So that's based on the quantity that I'm ordering, the size of the product, perhaps. So that I can send to my NinjaFan API, for example, and they can return it's going to cost this much, so that I can return in the checkout in the shipping integration events. Same for order calculate, right? So before I'm submitting my order, I'm calculating the cost for that particular, calculating, for example, the taxes, right? So based on my billing address. Yeah, in Singapore, it's a little bit simpler. It's only 9%, but for example, in the US, there's a lot of states. Each state has their own taxes. So that's a little bit more complex. So in that case, we can calculate the taxes, the VAT for that, or the GST for that particular order, and then we can capture there. And then we are submitting, and eventually we have post-order processing, in which we can send notifications. We can push it to our ERP system and so forth. Yeah, so these are essentially what we call integration events. So they are webhooks from OrderCloud into our own middleware to handle that kind of business logic. And so each order, right, considering it's a marketplace, right, what we are doing is we are doing order splitting, right? So we have something called an order direction, right? So from a buyer, right, we have an outgoing order to a supplier, right? So I have this card, and I can potentially order from multiple suppliers within one single order, right? So let's say I am ordering a T-shirt from one supplier, and then ordering shoes from another supplier, right? I have two line items in one order, right? So for me, it's one order that I'm submitting, right? But that we split up in two orders, one line item for each of those suppliers, right? So that the supplier, they will only see the one line item for that that's relevant as part of their product catalog, right? So that is something that we call order splitting. And then for each of those split up orders, right, we can do independent fulfillment, right? So we can create shipments, right? We can update the statuses, right? And as we are shipping it, for example, we can send a notification to the buyer with a tracking code, for example, right? One of those split up orders, right? They can have the status completed, right, delivered, right? Whereas the other is maybe still pending fulfillment, for example. All right. Yeah. So basically, with that knowledge, we can all do this part of the APIs, right? So using those APIs, we can create those orders, we can create the cards, we can submit those orders, right? And right, so one thing that I wanted to show is as part of the so we can have products, right? So this is, in my case, a product, right? So this is a product that we have on a marketplace. So this product I assigned to my catalog, right? So I have a catalog in this marketplace, and so now on a public site we would essentially see this product, right? In this case, I don't have a price yet because I didn't assign a price yet there, but I can essentially assign one or more prices, right? So I can have a price, for example, for a consumer. I can have a price for a specific customer. I can have a loyalty price, for example, right? So I can assign prices to my product, right? I can also, if you see at the bottom, we also have a object called XP, right? So all of these properties that you see here in as part of the product, right? They are fixed products. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so all of these attributes, they are part of the default product model, right? But over here at the bottom, something called XP, which stands for extended properties, right? So this is a dynamic object where we can add attributes and without any schema, right? So we can add dynamic properties, right? So in this case, I added an array here called images, and I just add my content in here, right? So it's not, it doesn't have a schema, it doesn't have a fixed schema, but it allows us to extend the data model of our products. And for that matter, for the majority of the entities, right? So including orders, we can also add XP properties there. And to user group, we can add XP properties there as well. And it also allows us to filter as well. So if I want to filter on all the products that have this hello world.png, I can also do a query based on that as well. All right, so then I also wanted to go into a case study. So I want to show the first OrderCloud implementation within APJ that we are proud of. So we did this implementation. We started in 2022 for the Agency for Integrated Care, which is an agency under the Ministry of Health in Singapore. Essentially, their goal is to give seniors a good quality of life at home, right? That includes providing grants to them to allow them to purchase, for example, consumable items, right, that they need for their daily care at home, right? But also devices that help them, for example, maintain mobility or comfort at home for their care needs, right? So we have so we have in total 4 schemes that we are managing for them on OrderCloud Marketplace. We have consumables marketplace, which provides subsidy for consumables items such as milk feeds and mattresses, right? So those are consumable items that seniors need for their care needs at home. We have a devices marketplace, which provides them with subsidies for things like wheelchairs, hospital beds, yeah, those kind of items. And we also have a rental marketplace, right? So we also use the same OrderCloud platform for rental of items. That includes also hospital beds, oxygen concentrators, and those kind of devices that they can rent for a certain period of time. And then finally, we also have a training platform as well that we manage for them. All right, so that's all of that we can. We work hard on accessibility, right? So we actually, one of our learnings that we went live with was that we initially didn't really pay attention, or we didn't really have the experience to tailor for the accessibility of seniors. And over time, as we through measuring with analytics and A/B testing, we iterated to a platform that is much more accessible and provides all the users with with access to their care needs. Compliance, right? So we have strict integration with AIC on getting the healthcare data and making sure that it's protected. Real-time operations, right? So that was one of the challenges that we initially faced is how do we build reporting and analytics around the order data? Because that was a little bit of a challenge initially with OrderCloud. We then built a event-based data lake around OrderCloud to sort of make that data and to activate that data and allow for reporting and analytics. They have since added some features around that to make it easier to do that. So yeah, we are also using that. And we also have multi-role access as well. So there are different, so the patients and the caregivers that have access to the wallet of a patient, for example. Right, so we have OrderCloud, right? So OrderCloud is the API layer that is doing the commerce logic, the commerce functionality. And then we have our, like I showed earlier, we have a buyer app, we have our admin/supplier portal, we have our integration middleware, which is the API in here. And then we also have an event worker. This is for the reporting and analytics that I just mentioned. And this part, right? So our head apps, they are running on Azure environments. So this is what we are that we set up for this, and we also integrate directly with SyncPass as well to help seniors to provide SSO functionality through their SyncPass account with MyInfo to help them, with government verified particulars. All right, and then where the complexity of this platform comes in is with the subsidy management, right? So we are the source of truth when it comes to administering the grants, right? So so this example is actually for consumables where a senior is granted a subsidy on a fiscal year basis. They are getting a wallet, and that wallet we maintain, right? So it can either be $2,000 or it can be $1,200. And that wallet can be used to drill down from as you are ordering products on the marketplace, right? So you can order, for example, milk feed from the marketplace, and we will draw down from this wallet, and you can use that towards paying for your order. Our setup was that we have the senior, which is a buyer user in our within our platform, within OrderCloud, and then we can have a caregiver that is part of the same user group, and then sharing that wallet, right? So we can have different user accounts can then use the same resources as part of that user group. So yes, we are now live for over 3 years now. So right now our monthly transaction value is roughly between 1.5 and 2 million Singapore dollars, right? With an average order value of $310, right? And we have within the first year we had 75,000 orders, right? And that has since steadily increased. And we have around 71 different suppliers that are offering products on our marketplace. Our roadmap ahead is that we create a unified marketplace that is more recognizable, integrated, right? So rather than them being the separate schemes, we are creating a unified marketplace that shares the same interface, the same account, same sort of, and it makes it a lot more accessible for seniors to navigate across these different schemes. So, and with that, I wanna summarize. So composability, right, is at least to my definition is that it allows you to choose what kind of solution you are taking, right? So rather than buying a one and all a commerce platform that does everything from you, but you still need to customize to fit it within your business, right? That will at some point limit you, right? Whereas a OrderCloud, right, it gives you a base on which you can build on top of it, and it allows you to scale over time. Collaboration is key, right? It is something that we had to work together with different departments, with different agencies even, right? We had to work with CINAP, we worked with AIC. Had to come up with the best solution and optimize these processes, and also all of the suppliers, right? We have established relationships with all these suppliers to understand what their processes are and to make this easier for them as well. And finding balance and strategy, synergy. So accessibility and scalability was essential for this, right? So how do we make a complex process, which is commerce, into something that a senior can understand and navigate through, right? So yeah, this project I think was really a blueprint of how commerce can work in healthcare. And with that, are there any questions? Thank you.
Any questions from the crowd and online?
Time permitting.
Anybody?
Do you have like breaking changes to the release once in a while?
Yes, 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 definitely. So for example, like we are now in the transition of, for example, moving away from credential-based login and then going to only sync pass, right? That is something that requires the users to make sure their sync pass account is connected, right? So this is something that we go through, and of course there are breaking changes, but it is never. I think OrderCloud as a platform allows us to move quickly, right? So I'll tell you an example, right? We started first with consumables, right? And later, we wanted to add devices, SMF devices, right? So that it is a separate marketplace, right? But because of the design of OrderCloud, it allows us to have multiple tenants within the same marketplace, right? So we still have the same environment essentially, right? But it allows us to spin up a new tenant with a separate catalog, with a separate directory of users next to it, right? Meaning less disruption, less sort of friction between those schemes, which at some point did create a sort of a disjointed experience between those schemes. So that's what we are now sort of moving towards, to make it a seamless experience between those marketplaces. But at the very least, right, because of that multi-tenant design, it allows us to set up separate instances within the same marketplace. So I think that really helped, and it really showcases the flexibility of OrderCloud. Yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any online? Any questions from the webinar side? Nothing? All right. Any more questions? Last call? Questions?
What's something unique? What's unique about OrderCloud? The people hear the question.
Yeah. So
Maybe to put it in layman's terms, why can't Shopify?
yes. So I think the key factor is the marketplaces, right? So we can have. So I think multi-vendor commerce is not well done, not well done in other platforms, right? There are other platforms that are, for example, headless, right? There are platforms that are API first, but none of them really address the multi-vendor commerce, right? So, and I think that is something that OrderCloud does well, and yes, it doesn't provide a drag and drop interface, but it covers the foundation of commerce, marketplaces. It does that well.
If you have to look at it from a product perspective, it's right. It can be abstract for product to have that level of flexibility and not have a document set. So how is this platform different from other platforms? A lot of them have something to dock in the customer to the platform so that it becomes so frictionful that it is coming away from the platform. The flexibility of the platform, if the customer does not like it, also allows them to very quickly away from the platform. The data model, the data schema is purely flexible. The API based approach, there's no front end, UI lock-in, it's fully open in the platform. So far it has played well. OrderCloud in this scenario that they're open and still promoting that openness in terms of the API simplification with other platforms, and they're not forcing any lock-in mechanisms on the platform. That's what's different from the other e-commerce products out there. At some point, the product will try to lock you in so that you cannot work like.
Yeah, so actually last year at the Sitecore Symposium, they also said we want you to use other platforms. We don't want to do everything. We just want to do commerce right and give you a basis to do that particular to answer that particular part of the problem, right? But when it comes to reporting, use another tool. Use PIM, use another tool. Yeah.
If you want to use personalization, analytics and stuff, they don't claim that you can have that.
Yeah.
You only claim that we have e-commerce related, we have more like e-commerce related stuff. This is that. If you want content, we don't have content management. We don't want analytics. Get an analytics, we can claim to be that we have e-commerce, but we can do this, this, and this as well.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so by the way, if you guys know about this, right? Historically versus healthcare, so that's what actually the marketplace is. So yeah, so have a look. So by the way as well, he will be talking about OrderCloud next month at Sitecore Symposium. So for those of you guys who are going to be in Florida, please catch a session. I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a much bigger audience as well. So yeah, thank you. So on the note, we're talking about composability, talking about collaboration. I'd like to invite Akash this week from Gimli. He's a CTO and he's going to be sharing about the composable solutions in the event space.
All right, thank you. All right, so great to be here. So what is GiveMe? So GiveMe is an event management platform that empowers users through technology and data. So we follow an omni-channel event strategy where our primary focus is customer experience because everybody wants their event to be different and recognizable. We provide tools within our platform to allow users to unleash their creativity and productivity, especially now in the age of AI, has been something that all platforms are trying to achieve. So that's also something that we have been looking at for a long time. Before AI, we were looking at machine learning automations. And lastly, data insights. So just like Tom was touching on before, everybody wants real-time data analytics. Yeah, so what is the omnichannel customer experience that you get with GiveMe? So for your events, usually you will start with like emails, having your website, your event page, your forms to register, hosting your virtual event, embeddable widgets for other platforms. And then you can also have your mobile app that further enhances attendee experiences. And for in-person events, you want a way to capture your attendees who have shown up to the event and also probably guide them based on the actions that they've taken. So live displays, an example would be if you participated in a game, it will tell you whether you've won, how you can collect your rewards. So yeah, this is what it looks like on our platform. So your invitation email, we have an email builder, your landing page for ticket selection, and then virtual meetings, which some of them are joining us online right now. And this is for physical events. This is a typical kiosk that we offer, which offers full branding for our customers. And of course, mobile app where we'll also have your business matching offerings. All right, so going back to composable solutions. So at GiveMe, we focus on everything that we build as features to be modular. So microservices first, and then they need to be API integration ready. Also API first development. And lastly, for the front end, everybody wants to have their own experience. So we try to allow as much customization within our product, but if you have the ability to build your own front end, you can easily integrate with our modules. So when we offer APIs, we categorize them into two different, we basically put them in two categories, transactional API and composite API. So how they differ, transactional APIs are basically every single step that somebody would take For example, for an event registration, from creating your cart, your orders, your attendees, reserving tickets, managing capacity, confirming the tickets, receiving the payment, and sending the tickets. So each of that will have an individual API call. Or if you don't want to manage all of this, you have a simpler use case. You can just go for a composite API where you just send us your payload of your attendee details, and the whole registration is completed with one API call, and the email will be sent for the tickets. All right. So now we'll go through some use cases that have already been done for composable solutions. So for this one, a bit of recency bias on my part. This event ended last week. This was for token 2049, where the event organizer really wanted to be able to capture registrations through crypto payments. You cannot have a crypto event where you cannot use crypto to buy your tickets. So most event platforms, if not all, don't have that offering. So how do we go about solving that challenge? So what we did is we provided them all of our transactional APIs so that they can replicate the exact registration flow that GiveMe offers. So that way, all the data, whether you did payment using Stripe or crypto payments, they all flow into the same place. So as usual, you start with your access tokens. Once you have access to our APIs, you pull the event details. So the event details is really used to render the information of your event on the landing page, so that you don't have to completely hard code everything on your site if you're building such a case. So that also means this is reusable for the future events. Then they go about listing their tickets. We have validation logic in different APIs to see what tickets are active right now, because organizers sometimes like to hide tickets for public purchase and only make it available to exclusive attendees. Then the flow goes on to the ticket selection. After that, we create a card. You fill in your registration information, whether you're an attendee or a buyer. You fill in your details just like you would during a normal registration flow. Once the details are confirmed, you make another API call. You can be redirected from here to the payment gateway if you wish to, or you can directly post the transaction to our system. And finally, the confirmation endpoint can be triggered to send the email. The next one, so this one is a bit different. They didn't want web-based. This is a customer who already had their native mobile app. So what they wanted to do is put ticket purchases for their attraction events within their native mobile app, which we cannot access. They have another vendor managing it. So again, what they did here, they leverage our APIs to achieve that for their customer. So slightly different sets of APIs because our ticketing flow and registration flow can differ slightly. So this one, the key difference is there's time slot selection, and every time slot has limited capacity. So similar to the previous flow where they changed is the time slot selection. So every time somebody is trying to perform a booking, just like, for example, if you're purchasing a ticket for watching a movie, there's a countdown for how long this seat is reserved for you. So that similar logic was achieved within the mobile app by calling our APIs. And all the app has to worry about is making the calls in sequence, and the logic is all handled by our APIs. And finally, this one, they didn't want to trigger your confirmation email for your tickets. They wanted the tickets to be available directly within the mobile app as QR codes. So we also have APIs to differentiate that. The last use case, this one was actually my first event in Singapore. This was for People's Association. They wanted to try something new where the event is completely cashless. So they will have attractions, there will be activities that you can participate and even food purchase, but they didn't want any exchange of hard cash. So what we built for them in this case, using our existing APIs, is a system that works on web. So you can use it, it's mobile responsive. So you go to the event after having already registered. That's where this flow will begin. So once you show up, you just sign in using your email that you registered with. You receive an OTP. Once we validate this user is actually registered for the event, the wallet is created, digital wallet that is hosted on our side. And for them, what we did is we designed not exactly a cryptocurrency, but a digital token that you can purchase with real money. So in that case, we accept payments one time after the wallet creation for exchange of the event tokens that they wanted. And once that is confirmed, the wallet go to updates and everything can be tracked from our backend for them to manage balance if needed. But also on the mobile app, people could see their balance. So this flow was typical for the attendee, but we also had another app which would be for the event ushers. So the event usher at any point, they can check your balance if you wish, or they could check what have you already purchased. So as an event usher, if you want to participate in my activity, I could just scan your QR code and tell you whether you have purchased this, if there's an issue. And when you do the purchase on my app, I receive a notification that person A has purchased this activity for this time. So at every booth, there would be a menu. So you scan a QR code, you get a listing of all the activities that can happen and the particular booth you're at. And then you select what you want, and then you purchase through the tokens at the event. The purchase is complete, your balance gets updated, and the vendor gets notified. So that was the flow for this event.
Your last time you event.
2019 Heartlands National Day Festival. Yeah, so forgive me, not every customer wants to do API-based integrations. So we have a lot of native integrations as well. So whether you want to integrate with CRM systems, you have your marketing automation tools, you want to use your single sign-on. And in Singapore, there's a lot of people who have specific vendors for specific roles at events. For example, business matching, they like to use Jublia. So we integrate with those natively as well within our backend. Yeah, sorry. So that's composable solutions I give me. Sorry, I think I breezed through very fast.
No, don't worry about it. Oh, good. That's very interesting.
You have to be paper.
Is there, yeah,
Yeah, sure, if you have questions.
Yeah, of course. Anybody, questions? Forgive me.
I guess you're going to talk about how you work together with other platforms.
Yes.
Coming, but maybe I think can you give a bit more of an introduction about GiveMe as a organization?
Yeah. So GiveMe, we do focus mostly on events. We do some other AI initiatives, but that's more recent. So we focus mostly on events, started mostly in Singapore. Now we're branching out. So we try to take care of the whole event organization side. So from your pre-event, during event, and post-event. So we allow you to do marketing within our platform. So we have like an emailing module. Some people use us only for the emailing functionality. For example, newsletters. We have a survey component for your post-event, which others also use us just for the survey component. But the core of it is registration. Registration mostly for conferences and trade shows. So for example, Tech Week happening, just ended right now. Singapore FinTech Festival was a big part of it. And we have some concerts as well sometimes, because Give Me can also be used for ticketing. And then for private events, sometimes small events like this where it's RSVP only, so we cater for RSVP events as well. So we make all of that available through APIs, but all of it can be managed under one platform on our side. So usually the part where people will want to customize is where the attendee will interact, but our backend is really focused for the organizer themselves, so that everything is in one place for them and they can easily manage everything that's happening. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, let's.
Maybe thanks, Akash, for actually giving us the software to stream today. So the stream on the webinar has been.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, that partner for today. So let's move on to the next part. So so speaking of integration, so sometimes, when we have all these like big tenders, so something we worked on recently is a very interesting ticketing tender with our Japanese hub. So we collaborated with Give Me and we came out with like a very interesting solution on the ticketing and access control. So anyway, so this is Berlin, so our CTO. So you guys can share a little bit more about the tender.
Okay, sure. So when I was first approached for this one, where I began was how do we work with Vertis to provide what sorry, I think they're saying get in the camera. All right. Okay, yeah, so our Japanese hub tender came and I was informed to work with Berlin to come up with a solution to see how we can best serve this particular tender. So for most tenders, when we get the requirements, it's very specific to that particular customer. So it's difficult to find a platform that can do everything exactly the way they want it. But since we have the APIs that can do it, but our user flows doesn't match it, that's where Vertis comes in, where with the expertise of building those user flows through front-end technologies.
Yeah. So exactly, I said Akash. So this was a perfect sandbox environment for us to play around how OrderCloud can actually anchor the best-in-class technologies around it altogether. The flexibility and the customers asked for, they didn't want to be locked into a single vendor, and they wanted the flexibility and the scalability. And this was one of the pilot projects first. They want to expand this out to the other community hubs and national events. So this is a physical and a digital sort of a platform, which, if successfully rolled out, will be expanded across the entire Singapore community hubs and events and collaborative event stuff out there. Our first encounter with Give Me was actually 2 years back when we took over the Enterprise Singapore website, and Give Me is actually handling their event and registration system in the backend as well. And the flexibility goes way beyond just the e-commerce piece, right? They are using a content management system. It is integrated with Give Me. We are actively right now working with Give Me on a project which is going to be the first headless content management and a headless e-commerce platform rollout for a Singapore government entity. It's right now in the works with People's Association. It will be rolled out towards the first to second quarter of next year. And it'll be the first one for a government agency to do a headless e-commerce and a headless content management system, backed up with the integrations of the flexibility of the Give Me in terms of ticketing and event management in the back end, and all hosted on a SaaS platform. So,
yeah, so I didn't mention that Give Me follows a SaaS model. So people sign up and they usually find everything they need. But then when you go to enterprise scale, people have existing systems or completely different flows. So maybe can we go a bit more in the technical aspect for that one? Yeah. So they wanted to manage like selling tickets for like movies and handle the what is it called?
The gantry.
The gantries, yeah.
The physical gantry.
So there was a physical component as well. So we are not exactly experts on the hardware side of it. Luckily, we do have APIs for it. So we were looking at systems where after somebody scans the QR code, we get an API call that says, okay, this person is trying to attend this particular activity. Are they a valid entrant? Yes, then the gantry opens. So that one, we did have a similar case, but maybe just on the gantry. This one, the data needs to tie into multiple layers. There's post-event analytics. There's like pre-event capacity that you need to cater for, and then how the capacity is evolving as the event is going on. So all of that, on our side, we just provide APIs, but all of this need to be integrated with something. So the ease of integration is something that we try to look at, and luckily Vertis really understands the approach of building things in a composable manner. So yeah, that was a very cool one to work on.
Thanks, Yash. Yeah. And then the power really lies in the composability architecture. Like everybody talks about APIs, I have this API, I have that API, but how the APIs are built to what level itself really defines how easy a platform can be integrated with. Like everybody has worked with the traditional bigger enterprise content management e-commerce players out there. Everybody says I have APIs. If you've played with the APIs, you'll understand the pain that integrating flexibly with a certain platform is basically dictated by the platform that exposes the API and not the platform that wants to consume the API. The composable approach really lies into the fact that if I want to consume an API, it should be my choice of how and when I want to use it and to what extent I want to use it. And that's really a good composable architecture that we are working with GitMe and OrderCloud.
Okay.
Could you guys share that a little bit about how, because it's a government tender, right? And People's Association, and why OrderCloud is good for the sort of things, and what each of you guys as vendors bring in to a sort of proposal like this?
Public sector versus private
Yeah.
sector.
Yes, yes. I'll go first then.
Yeah, sure.
So public sector versus private sector, right? Public sector has a lot of constraints and restrictions, particularly around data residency is one of the biggest key areas where a platform is even allowed to be used in a public sector or not even allowed. So when we started off our journey back in 2022 with the OrderCloud team, the Sitecore team, they didn't have a data center in Singapore. So we worked really hard with them to get a Singapore data center spinned up for the Singapore public sector. And since then, they have expanded out to bringing in more government agencies onto the platform. The compliance and the restrictions, like every country and every government out there is trying to come up with its own data privacy, data restriction, data residency laws out there. And the platforms have to be flexible enough to be able to deploy it at a short notice in that particular region or at that particular data center. The flexibility of the OrderCloud's underlying architecture allowed the team to actually provide us a data center in Singapore in under a month. There are other SaaS platforms out there. If you go ask them that I have a project for you guys, do you want to spin up a data center and take it? They might not have the capacity and the flexibility to even spin it up at that notice because the underlying architecture is not flexible enough to deploy at a short notice. So that really helped us choose OrderCloud as a platform of choice for Singapore government sector because of the flexibility and the underlying the data residencies that it allowed us to play around with.
Yeah. So data residency for public sector in Singapore, that's pretty much the first question you get. Where do you host our data? And then what do you do with our data? So for GiveMe, we have been working with government for as long as I can remember. So we know that's the key thing. So when we designed our architecture, like Guling just mentioned, it's very difficult to move. So we did work with Australian government. They have the same thing. Your data needs to be needs to be hosted in Australia. So how do we do that easily when there are different countries asking for different? And same thing with Europe. GDPR compliance, data needs to reside in Europe. So our platform is cloud native, and the architecture is really flexible. So that doesn't mean if I have like 100 containers running in Singapore, I need to port over 100 containers to do the same thing in Australia. The base architecture remains the same. So if you have a CloudFormation template, if you're using AWS, quickly you can just spin up something and anybody can. So if you're going full SaaS, so then you have your Australian-based data center. For maybe you go to giveme.com/au. So for all of this, and the other part is compliance. So you will have audits. You will have audits of your platform. So really, like for the baselines, there's IM8 compliance, ISO 27001, 27017, 018, and SOC 2 that pretty much everybody will ask for. So during those audits, they go through like your logging mechanism, your authorization, authentication process. So you need to really follow those guidelines. It's really just a set of notes that most developers already know about it, but you just need to be very careful and make sure you're logging everything so that if anything happens in your platform, you can trace exactly what happened and who performed it. So that's the core for government projects as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Because you did token 2049.
Yes.
So that's a global audience for a Singapore event. How does the compliance and stuff like that work?
Yeah, so that one is really managed on the organizer side. So what we do is we provide the option. So for example, you can mention you are an EU-based customer and you don't want your data to be processed in Singapore. So that means we just capture your registration, forward it to the correct server, and then issue you the ticket, and no further processing as well.
So your hands are clean.
Yes. Yeah, so our platform also, we give everything to the organizer. So whatever they want, they can achieve. Like GiveMe doesn't have to go in and do anything for you. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, any other questions from you guys? Online, anybody?
Oh.
No? All right, last call.
Pizza.
All right. Yeah, I think we're all hungry. So, so thank you so much. Again, I think what I want to emphasize today is about this really partnership and collaboration. So we have some of our partners here from Sitecore here today. Thank you. And then GiveMe as well, who have very kindly helped us with our webinar platform this session. I'm pretty sure there'll be more collaborations in the future. So thank you. So hold on, last one. Thank you. Thank you. And so anyway, please head downstairs. We ordered a bunch of pizza from everyone. The beers, pizza's really delicious. So yeah, lots of, and then